Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Epic Photography Podcast. My name is Fernando, also known as Chiquinando, and my co host today doesn't need any introduction because I'm sure you all know my epic friend, the legendary Scott Kelby. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Cheeky Nando. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to be here with you. Today
Yeah, me too. Yeah, good.
we have a great episode. We are trying to make, well, not make life miserable for those who use Lightroom, but avoid that I have a miserable life with Lightroom. And there's a lot of people that have problems with that because Lightroom somehow in the middle of the night deletes their images and all that. And well, Scott, you wrote a lot of books about that, right?
Oh, yeah. It's funny these days, Nando. People don't have trouble so much with editing their images, right? I mean, we know what the exposure slider does. We know what the contrast slider does because we're also used to editing on our phones and things that we kind of don't struggle too much with the editing part. But the thing that people really struggle, especially in Lightroom Classic, is organization. Organization is the stumbling block. And I'll talk to so many people, and I'm like, "So how's your Lightroom life?" And they're like, "Oh, it's I don't know where my stuff is. I don't know if I'm backed up. I have a hard time finding things. I don't want to do keywording, but I know I should be." Like, it's a lot of regrets. People have a lot of regrets in their Lightroom life, and so I've spent a lot of time trying to help people along those lines, trying to do things that help people get past all that stuff. So that's kind of where I've been spending a lot of my time.
Yeah,
is doing that.
Yeah, we are going to talk exactly about that, trying to get people out of their miserable Lightroom life and
Yep.
getting them into Lightroom paradise. And I'm very active on the Kelby One community, and there's I was checking the number of replies I did over the last few years, and it's like almost 14,000. And most of my replies will go into Lightroom,
Yeah.
and most of them, it's always the same thing. It's about organization. Well, I changed my computer. I
Yeah.
lost my files. I don't know how to do that. Well, you came up with this amazing system that it's a slim system, right? So
Right.
maybe
Yep.
you can help our readers and tell people about it because it's an
Well,
awesome
sure.
way
It's
to do that.
Yeah, and the SLIM system, the SLIM, SLIM stands for the Simplified Lightroom Image Management System. And it's just, after struggling for years, I think when we all started with Lightroom, the default importing thing was to import everything by date. And that was the default, and everybody kind of did that. And you just figured, well, I need to organize by date. The kind of the root problem with that is everything is named by date. And if you happen to have that kind of memory that can go, "Oh yeah, I was in Paris in March of 2006," or, we went to the beach with the family and it was 2004 and it was Wednesday. I don't have that kind of memory. I don't think most people do. I have a buddy that does. I have a buddy that remembers everybody he's ever met, remembers their name, remembers where he met them, and remembers some obscure thing about their life. It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, and he doesn't have any idea where his car keys are, but he has a very specific memory for stuff like that. And he would be the guy to tell you, "Oh yeah, we did a seminar in Cincinnati on, 2012. It was a
was he the one
Wednesday. It was raining."
Was he the one that developed Lightroom, the import
No,
by date thing?
no, but he could live with that. But the rest of us, finding our images is very, very tough. And so I think why some of us got into this mess is organizing by date. Now, I'm going to tell you the big reason why you do not need to organize by date. Besides, you would have to have a cracked memory to remember everything. But the other thing is that Lightroom, in the background, automatically, without you doing anything, is already organizing all of your photos by date. It does it automatically. So it does you no good to name your files with this, because if you wanted to find out what photos were taken in 2007 on March 7th, and Lightroom even, not only does not Lightroom have a track of every photo you took on that day, it even knows what day of the week it was. It'll say it was Saturday, March 7th, 2007. So if you were in the library module of Lightroom Classic, you went to the library filter up top, and if you don't know what that is, hit your backslash key, and it will appear at the top above your thumbnails, right? So those are all your thumbnails, and it will appear up there. And it'll appear. And when you see that, you're going to go, oh, okay, there's a metadata tab. And when you look in there, and under date, there's every photo you've already taken, already organized by the date, by the year, by the day, by the minute, by the seconds. It's all there. So anytime you want to find your images by date, it's already done. It's already organized. It's already very orderly. So there's no sense in you doing double the work. So the Slim system is based on the very first thing that you do is to get your images organized before you open Lightroom. You don't have to do this, but it sure makes your life easier for a lot of reasons. So what I would tell a friend is, okay, and by the way, I have a friend going through this right now. He's in the 7 stages of Lightroom hell. So he's like, oh, my stuff it's on different hard drives, and some's on my computer, some's on another hard drive, some's on another one, some's on some CDs that I'd never imported. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So I would say, all right. So I told him, I said, go to Amazon, go to B&H, go and buy a big empty hard drive. A big empty hard drive, and every photo that you own is going on that hard drive. So that is step one. Step one is go out and buy a big hard drive. Now, the prices of hard drives are really incredibly low right now. They're not as low as they've ever been because everything's getting a little more expensive, right? But they're still very, very low. And you can get really, really good deals on 4 terabytes, 8 terabytes, So kind of figure out what you think you'll need, not just for what you need today, but what you're going to need 2 or 3 years from now. So how many photos am I likely to take in the next 2 or 3 years? How much space am I going to need? And then go buy one. But while you're at it, buy 2. Don't just buy 1 hard drive, because you're going to need a backup. You're going to need your hard drive, and then you're going to need an exact duplicate of it. So you're going to need 2 hard drives. So that's what I told them. I said, go out and buy your hard drive. And they said, once you get your first hard drive, plug it in and make a folder. You can call the folder whatever you want. You can call it, my Lightroom library or my photo archive. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can just call it pictures, whatever. Stick it on there. And every single photo that you own goes on this one hard drive. What does this accomplish? Well, the first part of this, which is just putting them on a drive, you finally, probably for the first time in your life, have all your photos in one place. Yep. So you're taking them off of your computer and you're putting them on that drive. You're taking them off all your other hard drives, you're putting them on that one drive. You're going to put in your CDs, your DVDs, your USB drives, any place you have a photo, they all go onto that one drive. Now, you could just throw them all in there willy-nilly and just folder after folder after folder by, alphabetical. But what I would recommend is to start your organization and to get your life kind of organized, let's spend a few minutes just organizing that hard drive. Now, we haven't launched Lightroom at this point, right? We're just copying files to a hard drive. But instead of just dragging them in there and dropping them anywhere, before you start dragging everything, do a little bit of research up front and ask yourself these questions. What is it that I shoot? Like what kind of stuff do I wind up photographing? Well, I can't speak for you, so I'm just going to tell you what I do. For me, I shoot aviation. In fact, I just shot an air show this weekend. I just spent the last 3 days at the second largest air show in America, and it was wonderful. Wonderful weather and great planes to shoot and just a lot of fun. I love that camaraderie. So aviation. Then I shoot automotive. Then I shoot architecture. And these aren't what I do for a living, right? These are things that I love, my own personal passions. I shoot my family, right? I photograph people. I photograph sports. I photograph travel, landscape. And then I just photograph other stuff, but I don't do enough of it to make it into categories. So, for example, I shoot flowers sometimes. But I don't shoot flowers enough to be a flower I wouldn't consider. Nobody would say, Scott, are you? Have you shot flowers? Yes, I have. Are you a flower photographer? No, I'm not. I shoot wine bottles. I shoot products. I shoot guitars. I shoot all these different things. So I need one folder called miscellaneous to throw everything else that I shoot once in a while. So what I would do is on that brand new hard drive, it's empty. I don't have anything on it yet. I would make a folder for those things that I do, aviation, automotive, So when I'm dragging these things from my computer, from my other hard drive, from that other hard drive, from my CDs and all, I just drag them into the folder that it most closely matches. So Spain, that goes in travel. Chiquinando in
Portugal.
Lisbon. I wanted to say Lebanon. In Lisbon.
No.
Not Lebanon. In Lisbon with Chiquinando. Goes in my travel photo folder. If I go to Austria and there's Chiquinando, it still goes in travel. So wherever I go, Chiquinando is already there. But I put all these things into a folder, right? And so as I'm putting them in, it's a football game, it goes in sports. Oh, it's a building, it goes in architecture. So when you're done, you only have those folders. Like you open up that hard drive and there's just the folders of the stuff that you do. It's kind of already pre-organized, all right?
Yep.
So once you've got that done, you can drag that folder into Lightroom and it will keep all the organization. It'll keep all your folders just like they are, right? So that's a huge thing because now your hard drive and Lightroom share the same organization. Now, here's what's nice about this. So let's say if you're on a plane, so let's say that Chiquinando and I are flying someplace again, because Chiquinando and I meet up.
I missed that.
I know it's been a couple of years, but every year we were meeting up someplace with a group of the Team Epic would all meet up someplace wonderful. So let's say that we're doing that. So we're all together and we're on the plane, and Chiqui says to me, Scott, where are your photos from our trip to, let me think of where we went to.
Austria.
Yeah, we'll use Austria. Okay. Where are our photos from Austria? I'd go, well, they're on my external hard drive, in my travel photo, in a folder called Austria. Now, if you asked me right now, when did we go to Austria? I'm like, well, it was a few years ago. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think, what time of year was it? Was it late September, or was it October? It was sometime in the fall. Like I'm sitting there trying to figure. But when you have this stuff organized by name, it's easy to figure it out. If he said, okay, where was your when? Let me just use another one. How about the time you went to Maine with your family? Oh yeah. Well, I could either go under family because I have a family trips folder, but I'd probably go under travel. And I would see a folder called Maine. Now, because I go to Maine almost every year, that's like our family thing. In fact, we're going to go again this year. So every year we go to Maine, I might have 4 or 5 different Maine folders. And it might say Maine 2017, May 2018, May. Or I might be more descriptive. Maine with the kids, Maine with just my wife, Maine that summer the hurricane hit. I'll put something in there to help me remember. Because another thing we used to go to, it just takes forever to get there, but it still did. It always did. But Hawaii, we used to go to Hawaii, and I would do a seminar in Hawaii. I would do a seminar in Honolulu and on Oahu, and then we would take a week's vacation, which was a business excuse to go to Hawaii. Anyway,
That's a good thing.
but so every year you would have Hawaii. So I would describe what happened, like Hawaii the hurricane year, Hawaii the year I didn't do the seminar, Hawaii with the kids, Hawaii at this hotel we stayed at, Hawaii on Maui, we went to Maui, whatever. So sometimes I'll use a descriptive thing. But when you do this and you take the time to name your folders reasonable things, your Lightroom life has already got immeasurably better. Immeasurably better. You know where everything is. Now,
Absolutely.
What else does this? This offers another big thing. So besides kind of knowing where your stuff is, you don't even have to open your computer, right? You know where your stuff is. Anybody can ask you, where's the shot of your son's graduation from college? It's on my external hard drive. in my family folder under Jordan's graduation. Everything is so easy to find. But beyond that, I can make a backup of this so easily. All I have to do is take that folder from hard drive A and drag it onto my, remember I said by two? Drag it onto the other empty hard drive. And now I have two identical hard drives. Now, I keep these two hard drives in sync using a program called Carbon Copy Cloner. That is a Mac. I'm on a Mac, and so it's a Macintosh program. There are programs for it like the piece from the PC that do the same thing, that just make
Absolutely.
a. And can you recommend any of them, Nando? I don't.
Yeah, I use one called Vice Versa, but
okay.
there's more. Vice Versa
There's half a
is one
dozen
that
of them, right?
it's kind of the similar that the one you're using does. It's probably around $50 or something.
Yeah,
you
that's
can
kind
get
of like
stuff for that for free, but I prefer to use that. It's very
use the
convenient
commercial
for
one.
me.
Yeah. And what's nice it only updates the things that have changed since the last time you've updated. So I only bring my two hard drives together once a month. Now, I will tell you something. So they're going to have the identical thing. You just plug them in and it goes, oh, you have some new files, and it moves them over and you're done. Just sync them once a month. I do not keep these hard drives, I would recommend, in the same location. So there's no sense in having one hard drive and then your other hard drive sitting on your desk beside it. Because if someone breaks in your house and steals your computer equipment, you will lose all of your photos. So I keep one of mine at my office, which is 20 minutes from here, and I keep one here. So I have two different versions. Now, what I do is, now my hard drives aren't very large. Can I show you? Can I show you mine? I have mine over here.
You can, yeah.
Let me see if I can. Let me. Well, I'll have to unmount it. Give me 1 second. Just unmount it really quick.
Okay, so while you unmount your hard drive, I'll drop in some additional benefits of what you've been describing. The fact that you have all the images below this single folder, that helps a lot, not just with your backups, as you were saying, but also when in the future somehow your hard drive dies, and it will die for sure, it's a matter of time, and you need, because you had a backup and you want to move to a bigger drive, and suddenly you need to copy everything over to this other drive. And Lightroom might not find your files where Lightroom was expecting. So if you just tell them that this specific folder, you go to the top level folder and you say this folder now exists on this other location, and everything else will be fine. If you have your photos spread across several different folders, then you have to go one by one and do that. So that's another benefit when you have to move everything from one location to the other.
Yep. So this is it. This is my drive. This is 16 terabytes. Yep. And this is a commercial enterprise level drive. You don't have to buy this fancy of a drive, because this one's like 500 and something bucks. You can get them a lot cheaper than I did, but I wanted this enterprise level, very fast USB-C, drive. So I have two of these, and they look identical, right? So one stays at home and one stays here. And so when I want to back them up, I take the other drive and I stick it right on top. I run a cable between them, from one to the computer to the other computer, drag and drop. That's it. It takes 15 minutes once a month, and all your stuff is backed up. So it doesn't have to be some big, giant, massive, crazy thing. This is just a regular enterprise level, and it's made by G-Tech. It's called the G Drive. That's it right there. It's not very loud. It's nice and quiet.
Well, you do have a cloud backup. I know you do.
That's my third leg of my chair.
That's what's next, right?
So, if you think about it, if someone breaks in my house and steals this hard drive, I have another hard drive 20 minutes away. But if there's a flood, if we have a hurricane or a tornado and it wipes out my office and here, all my photos are gone. So I have a backup that happens automatically. It is from a company called Backblaze. And Backblaze It was $5 a month unlimited. Now it's like $6 a month. It's very
20%?
inexpensive.
The
I know
increase percent.
I know it's 20%, but it's around. It's not actually six. It's like $5.80 or something like that. It's like $5.80 a month, and it just runs in the background and it just backs up your stuff. Your whole archive is backed up in the cloud. You won't even know what's happening. But I want to give you a warning, and this is very real. So let's say that you have, I don't know, 5 terabytes of stuff, right? So you don't have quite as much as I do, but you don't have just a little bit. You've got a decent amount, right? 4 terabytes, 5 terabytes. When you initially upload them over the internet to Backblaze, it might take 6 weeks. Literally 6 weeks, a month, 8 weeks. But here's the thing.
My initial backup took 6 months. 6 months. Yep. But it's just because I'm too far away.
Okay, that's a long time. So let's just say that you have better internet than
Now
Fernando.
I do.
No, you. I mean, your video is so crisp and clear. You must have very good internet.
Yeah, I do have very good internet.
But also, he has a bazillion photos. So while you're waiting, you wouldn't even know it's happening. It does it in the background. But here's what I recommend, and this is a psychological thing to help you enjoy this experience. Never go and look at the progress bar. Never go up to your top of your menu and say, it's been a few weeks, I should look. It's not good for your health, because you'll go look after like a month and it'll say 20% done. And you're going to be like, what?
You know what I did during the 6 months that it took me? Instead of going to the top level folder and say, just back up this whole thing, I went folder by folder. So
that's good.
It would take a while, but I had to be organized to know which ones were already uploaded, but I could actually track progress because I went, okay, this folder now.
That one's done.
Next day it would this other folder, and so it went like folder by folder, and I finally managed to do that. And now it's really easy. I just don't care. Yeah.
And now I look up there and it says 0 files waiting to be uploaded. So so it did take a while. However, here's the thing. Let's just say, for sake of argument, that it's 6 months. Let's just say it's 6 months. It's legitimately 6 months. The time's going to pass either way. 6 months is going to go by, and one of two things is going to happen. At the end of the 6 months, you have your entire archive protected online, or you don't.
Yep.
Time's going to pass either way. Don't ever not do something by the amount of time it's going to take, because the time's going to pass anyway. So just set it to go. It's very inexpensive, and then your stuff is backed up. And if you have to go retrieve some photos or whatever, you can do it. Now, I have a question that you might be wondering. What happens if you do need, like my computer gets stolen, both of my businesses get stolen, there's a flood, I've lost everything, and I need to get my photos back? You have an option to have them send you a hard drive with all your photos on it. They'll just put it in the mail. You'll have it in 2 days, right? So, or a day, depending on how much you feel on spending it for overnight shipping. However, so you can re-download them anytime, which takes a while. It does download way faster than it uploads. Way, multitudes faster. But you can just say, I need my whole thing back, and they've got you. So that third leg of the chair is very, very important. It takes a bit, but it's certainly worth doing. Also, it's important to note, yes, they do back up external hard drives. It's not just your internal hard drive, though I do have, like my laptop that I'm working on right now, that is backed up. The whole thing is fully backed up to the cloud in Backblaze. And then on the computer behind me, you have the same thing. It's backed up over there, but that particular hard drive, that particular computer has that GTech drive, and that GTech drive is sent to the cloud. So I have, just to recap, for those of you who are still listening, I have one drive at home, the identical drive at my office, sitting on the set of The Grid, by the way. If you're ever watching our show, The Grid.
You have a show called The Grid?
We do. It's every Wednesday. Yeah, you should stop by, Nando.
I'll try.
You should. You've already been a guest on that show. But anyway, so it's yeah. When you look at on the set, it's to the right of me. There's racks of all kinds of stuff, and there's my G Check Drive right there. So all I have to do is when I know I'm coming in for the grid, I'll just it's been about a month. I bring it in, plug it in, and hit Carbon Copy Cloner. And now I have Carbon Copy Cloner remind me once a month on that computer that it's time to back up, and it'll do it automatically. Bing, time to back up, and I have it once a week on my laptop, because my laptop gets a lot of just like from the air show, the stuff this weekend. I shot in the air show, and I did 3 studio portraits last week. They're on this drive. They haven't even made it over there yet. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, Scott, aren't you worried about what if your computer crashed? What if your computer's stolen? They're already backed up to Backblaze. I also have them backed up. I'm even more paranoid. I also have them backed up to Apple's iCloud. That's just my computer. So any photos that I import on my computer automatically go also to Apple's iCloud. And they go quickly. They go zippity split. So like all that stuff that I shot this weekend is already backed up on iCloud. So my desktop and my documents folder and all that stuff are already in iCloud. So anyway, I back up that thing. I'm crazy about backing up. I over back up probably.
No one overs backup. No,
yeah, right.
No, it's that there's not such thing as that. It's good that you have plenty of backups.
Have you heard of people who lost everything? Who lost every photo? They've cherished family photos. They've lost their phone and they didn't back up their phone, and they've lost I get those emails and I'm just crushed. And they're like, "Is there any way I can get them back?" And I'm like, "Well, did you back them up anywhere?" No. Yeah. And that's the answer. No, they're gone forever. And it's heartbreaking. People are crying and telling me their stories, and they're in tears, telling me I don't have any pictures of my mother. They were all on there. My mother's passed away, and I don't have my baby pictures. I lost all those. They were scanned and put in there.
Well,
and I'm like, yeah.
There's stupid things like people nowadays use their mobiles as a camera, which is not bad. I mean, it's always with you. But I've seen people saying that here's the photos of my kid, like my son that's just like 2 years old, 3 years old. And I asked them, have you printed any of those? Do you have them saved some other place? Oh, no, they're all here. And you know that your phone will die or you will lose it. And then they just realize that they have all those memories inside a device that you can just break it or lose it or get stolen. How do you do that? You need a backup. You need the photos someplace else. Yeah. But sometimes people just don't care.
Yeah, well, I don't think that they realize. I think a lot of people assume their stuff is backed up. A lot of Lightroom users I'll talk to and I'll say, "So are you backed up?" And they're almost, Nando, it's almost always the same thing when they go, I'm pretty well backed up, and I'm like, "So if you lost your computer, how many photos would you lose?" And they're like, "Oh, well."
Yeah, sometimes they say, "Oh yes, whenever I close Lightroom, it asks me to back up." I say, "Well, you're backing up your catalog. You're not backing up your photos with that backup. Those are different things." Yep. And then I said, "Oh, are they?" No, it says if I want to back up my library. I said, "Well, those are not your photos, because there's this thing that people think that their photos live inside the Lightroom catalog."
No,
and that's a huge mistake.
Right. Hey, so Nando, why couldn't? Well, number one, I'm sure that there would. I'm trying to think of how. Here's the least that Adobe could do. The very least is that once a month, a little thing pops up and says, "Have you backed up your photos?" Backing up your catalog does not back up your photos. It just backs up your organization. Doesn't back up your actual photos. Like, just a warning. In fact, when it says back up your catalog, why couldn't they just put a little warning line right there? Backing up your catalog does not back up your photos.
Yeah. I mean, something like they do on cigarette boxes and things. It's not good for you. So it's like, well, you're backing up your catalog. You're not backing up your photos.
Exactly.
So, maybe if you know someone at Adobe, maybe you can suggest that.
I know people at Adobe, they don't listen to me.
Oh, they don't care. Oh no.
No, you know what it is?
Comes
It's
Scott.
not,
Scott's
it's,
coming with another idea.
that's
Please.
it. They if their phone rings and they see it's me, they're like, "Oh God, he's calling to complain. He's calling to ask for something that we can't do, or it's not on our roadmap."
Or we can, but we don't want to.
But when I call them, I'm not just calling to add Scott's pet favorite features, right? I'm backed up. I'm backed up to death. But when I would propose something like that, I'm proposing it for the greater Lightroom community, right? The people that are members of our What We Do and photographers everywhere. I want to see them backed up. I'm backed up. I'm covered. I want to see everybody else be covered. And Adobe could help with that. Now, here's what I have been bugging Adobe about, and I've gotten absolutely nowhere. So every time I talk to my friends at Adobe on the Lightroom team, I complain and say, look, you have this cloud version of Lightroom where when you import a photo, it automatically copies to the cloud. Well, it doesn't copy to the cloud. It leaves and goes to the cloud, right? Why can't you turn that feature on in Lightroom Classic? I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the storage. Just if I bring something into Lightroom Classic, send it to the cloud. Now, here's why, and here's where they get cranky with me. Because I tell them, you already do that with smart previews. You can't say we don't have that technology, because you're already sending all of our smart previews to the cloud automatically. If I choose to sync in Lightroom Classic and I turn on the sync button, those photos go to the cloud, right? All the previews, all the smart previews go to the cloud. So it's already built into Lightroom Classic. Just let me send the high resolution versions. I'll pay, and you can put a little button there that says, you do not have enough space. Would you like to buy it? $10 a month. Yes. $20. You don't have enough room. You need the $50 a month plan. Okay. They're not hearing it, Nando. But anyway, that takes us off our topic, me complaining about Adobe. But
Yes.
which should make a great epic podcast, by the way. Just complaining about Adobe 101.
Well, we can think about that. There's
Now,
every single one of us uses Adobe products, so we can always complain, right? But we can always say how great they are, because in fact, sometimes I hear people complaining, "Oh, they have this subscription. I'm paying $10 a month." Well, even for me, by the Portuguese standards, that's nothing. It's nothing for what you get. So, people just complain because they like to complain, and that's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
If you go through McDonald's, literally, you go through McDonald's and you get a value meal. So, and I know you have McDonald's in Portugal.
But
go through.
We don't have the value meal. Well, we do have. Yeah, we
have like a sandwich and a fry and a Coke.
It's called the Euro Saver or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah, it's
$1. More than a month. It costs more than a month of Photoshop and Lightroom and all the stuff that comes with it. It's not just Photoshop, it's not just Lightroom, it's all kinds of other benefits like my portfolio, like an online hosted portfolio, and all these other things that come with it. It's really amazing
fonts,
what you get for the money.
There's so many things, yeah.
There's so many things that come with it. It's just crazy. And to think that, that people are like, I'm not renting my software. You rent everything else in your life. Yeah. You rent TV shows, you rent movies,
it's more.
And it's not $10 and stuff, Anyway, don't get me down that road. But anyway, that's the basis if you want to live a happy life. Now, Nando alluded to a very important thing when he was talking about Lightroom losing your photos, because this is a very common thing. You go to look at a photo and there's a question mark on the thumbnail, or you go to the folder and there's a question mark. And you click on it, and it says "photo not found," or cannot. Here, I just disconnected a hard drive, so I can tell you the exact words it says. It says, so it says this file cannot be found because the original. It says the photo cannot be used because this original file could not be found. All right, and then if I try to take that to the develop module, it says. Let's see what it says here. Oh, come on. It found all those photos. Oh, you stinker. Let's try this one.
You're using smart previews, maybe?
It just says the file could not be found. Simply the file could not be found. Okay.
Hold on. You know what happens at that time when people are on the Kelby One community? First question that I have to answer is, shall I import again? What do you think?
No,
No,
no.
don't do
All it
that.
means is this. While you were sleeping during the night, Lightroom decided to move stuff secretly without you. No, that's not what it means, of course. That's what people think it is. All it means is Lightroom used to know exactly where your photos were, but you moved them. You took that folder, maybe you moved it to another hard drive, maybe you moved it to another place on your computer, so it was in your pictures folder and now you put it in your final pictures folder, or you moved it to a travel folder. You moved it because Lightroom knows where it used to be. And now all you have to do is tell it where did you move it, right? That's it. Now, when it's lost, there's a locate button. When you hit locate, it doesn't go find it. It just opens a window and says, you find it. Tell me where you moved it. Now, I will tell you one thing that I do. Now, I'm sure it works similarly on Windows, but on a Mac, when you hit that open window, there's a search button up in the right corner. I just type in the name of the file I can't find. So I'm going to give you an example. So I happen to have Lightroom open here. I don't need to share my screen for this, but actually it wouldn't hurt if I shared my screen. Is it okay? Can you promote me to?
It will be a mess.
Okay,
If
we
you
won't
wanna
do it.
share your screen.
Okay, that's okay. But if I were to click on here, I'll just do it myself. I'll read it to you on screen, which is just as much fun. All right, so I see the little missing photo mark, and I click on it, and it says, okay, the file Flash Photo Recipes 236 could not be used because the original file could not be found. Would you like to locate it? Now, right below that, it shows the previous location. It even says the words, previous location. And it shows that it was in my pictures folder, right? So the name of the file, again, is Flash Photo Recipes -236. I hit the locate button, and up in the corner, there's a search. And I type in Flash Photo Recipes -236, and it shows me exactly where it is. Now, here's what's nice about this. I didn't move just one photo, right? I moved the whole folder. There's 200, and obviously it's number 236. There's hundreds of things in there. When you just tell it which, like I have all these photos that I moved, right? They're all broken. 236 all have that warning. When you relink one of those photos, it automatically relinks them all. Every photo in that folder automatically relinks. Because now it goes, oh, you moved the photo over here, or the folder. Great. Now I know where it's at. So all this stuff that you're doing that sounds like kind of a pain in the butt that you have to do before you get into Lightroom will make your life so much easier.
Yep.
And now,
Absolutely.
when you drag that folder into the into Lightroom, and you have that folder is the same, your hard drive and Lightroom now are sharing the exact same thing. Now, what I would recommend to do is go watch my class on the Slim system. Now I have two versions of it. One is just for cloud users. Why did I just release a version of the Slim system for cloud users? Because cloud users don't have to do anything that I've talked about in this entire because their images are already backed up in the cloud. You don't have to go buy a hard drive. For me, if I was all 100% on cloud, I would still have a hard drive. You have the option, cloud users, you have the option to keep a local copy is what it's called. You can turn it on, and every photo that you upload to Adobe's cloud, you keep a copy on that hard drive as well. I would absolutely positively turn that feature on without a doubt. But the Slim system is easier for the Lightroom cloud users because they're already backed up and all that stuff. For classic users, you have to do everything I've talked about, but then you're going to watch my version of it for Lightroom classic users, and it will take you through the next step of organization, which is how to organize a shoot and all that. And that is pretty visual, so you would want to watch the actual class. But if you're a Kelby One member, of course, it's already included in your membership. Go watch it. I believe if you go to the Kelby One and you join our free plan, it's very possible it's in the free plan because I put some of my favorite classes in that free plan, and I think the 7-point system is probably in there. Not the 7-point system, the Slim system.
Know. I have the Pro plan, so I'm not sure what's in the free plan.
The Pro plan's everything, but if you have a Kelby One membership,
if
you can get the
don't
Slim.
want a subscription of any kind, which means you cannot use Lightroom because it's only available on subscription, but you can get a book. You have a book on the Slim system, right?
I have a
So
book that my Lightroom classic book for digital photographers includes the Slim system in it as well. You can also just go buy the class. You can just buy it,
yeah,
$29. It's yours, and there you go. And guys, I get letters from people all over the world, literally, that have moved to the system. This system, they're teaching it in universities and colleges all over the world. That book that I just mentioned is used as the textbook in the classroom. So people are using it everywhere, and I get letters from all over, and people are like, I finally have my life back. All my stress is gone. I'm finally backed up for the first time in my life. I know where all my photos. It'll change your entire Lightroom
yeah.
experience when you know where everything is, and it's all easy and fast, and you can find the photos you want quickly without having to do a bunch of keywording, because the keywording thing I know turns people off. And so you don't have to do
Yeah.
keywording. I don't do any keywording at all. I shouldn't say that. When I shoot for a news wire service, I am required to do it. When I'm not shooting for a news wire service, I do zero keywording, because I use this system that I can find any photo I want. Like if Nando started picking my brain saying, can you find this photo from we were all together here? Yes, I can. I can
Hold on.
find it fast.
Can you find that photo that we took when we went to Porto?
We didn't go to Porto.
We didn't
because
go to Porto.
No, that's my next trip. Now, 2 years ago, I was supposed to fly to Lisbon again. Cheeky Nando has graciously offered to drive me and my
The
companion.
offer is still up, but
I still am going to do it. That is my 2023 thing, is to fly to Lisbon again. And here's my whole trip itinerary. Fly to Lisbon. Now, I love Lisbon. Lisbon is a great city, and there is no better ambassador than Cheeky Nando for the city of Lisbon. He is the greatest. The Chamber of Commerce or the Tourist Bureau owes him a great service because he loves his city, and I see why. If you go to Portugal, you go to Lisbon, you're like, why doesn't everyone live here? It is a magical city, there is no doubt, surrounded by other little magical cities. However, 4 hours away is another magical city called Porto. Cheeky Nando has offered to drive me and whoever goes with me, so probably Eric Kuna and some of Team Epic. We drive to Porto. We hang out in Porto. We go to there's a very world famous bookstore, not because of the books it sells, but because of the interior design of the bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
It's
very
gorgeous.
famous.
Yeah.
And there's some very famous shots of the city is very colorful and beautiful and stacked, and it's very neat, very interesting place. So we're going to shoot that. We're going to come back to Lisbon. We're going to catch a plane from Lisbon and fly to Fez, which is in Morocco and is only an hour and some change away. It's a very short flight. I did it last time I was there, but I went to Marrakesh instead. But it's, Morocco's not a huge country. You can fly pretty much anywhere there. Depending on which city you want, it's almost the same amount. So we're going to fly to Fez, and then we're going to go to the Blue City. It's called the Blue City. And then we're going to spend a couple of days in the Sahara Desert shooting camels. Photographing camels, shooting camels sounds terrible. And then back to Lisbon, and then Cheeky Nando is going to take me to my favorite restaurant, Time Out Lisbon, and then we fly home. That's my whole trip itinerary coming up in 2023 for the Lisbon trip. Nando's driving me around, and Nando's a good driver. I've driven many places with Nando.
Yeah, to Canon office when you broke your lens. I remember
When I
that.
dropped my 70 to 200 on the
Ouch.
ground and it cracked it. It was just a
Yeah,
mess.
well, that's
but
a
they were
mess.
nice enough to find me a loaner at CPS in Lisbon, and I had the thing for the rest of my trip, all the way to Morocco and everything back.
Yeah,
They were very
well,
gracious.
Yeah. Well, I think we are running out of time. I
yeah.
want just to drop a couple of things. I think we have to do a part 2 of this Lightroom thing because there's so many things. I'll just add one thing that, well, you're mentioning this, but I just want everyone to understand this. When you're importing a photo to your catalog, the photo stays where it was when you imported it. Well, technically you can move them or copy them to also another location. But the thing is, it's not inside the catalog. The catalog just stores like a link to where the file is. So it stores
points
the
to it.
address or the photo on your hard drive. It does not store the photo itself inside the catalog. So don't do this. You copy the photos to a folder on your desktop. You just use your card reader, you copy all the photos to a folder on your desktop, you import them into Lightroom, and now that you've imported, you just delete that folder from your desktop. You know what happened at that time? Your photos are gone because
They're
you deleted
gone.
them, and there's no way you're gonna get them back unless you have a backup. So just don't do that, okay?
Yeah. Hey,
And
Nando, you know what a good way for people to remember this is? So you're right. Lightroom does not store your photos. You know what Lightroom does store? It's just thumbnails.
yep.
What Lightroom does is thumbnails. So what would you have if you don't back up your photos? Little thumbnails. And
Stamps.
maybe previews for a while and then they get deleted. But yeah, so what Lightroom does store when you back up that catalog is just the thumbnails. You're always just working with thumbnails. But when you need to do something like make a JPEG or make a print or whatever, it goes to your external hard drive and accesses the original. But you're always working with little thumbnails inside of Lightroom. That's what's inside of Lightroom, not your photos. Just it makes little thumbnails of your photos. It's not your photos.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just before we finish, you want to drop just one single tip for our readers?
Yeah, well,
One.
we had big tips, right? We had lots of big tips. Let's do a small tip. Let's do a really quick, easy tip. Well, one of the things that I like to do is you're going to come to what we call the culling stage, culling, where you're looking through all of your images and you're trying to figure out which are the good ones, which are the bad ones, right? Which ones to delete. And the tip I would give you is Lightroom's got a lot of sliders and buttons and dials and stuff that are distracting. And what I love to do when it's time for me to start looking at my images is I hit, and here's the tip, Shift Tab. So you're going to hit the Shift key and the Tab key. That's going to close the side panels, the top panel, the bottom panel, and just put your pictures front and center. Now, you may want to look at just the thumbnails and make your decisions that way, and you can change the size of your thumbnails using the plus and minus keys on your keyboard. So plus makes them bigger, minus makes them smaller. Did I have to even say that? Anyway, but
You just did.
or you can just double click on any photo and it makes it large. And when I go through my images to choose my best ones, you can use 5-star, you can use the pick flag, but the reason why, and so you might be saying, well, Scott, why don't you just go full screen? Why do all that stuff? Why hide the stuff and then double click? Why not just hit the letter F and go full screen? Because when you're at full screen and you decide to make a pick, or you want to make 5-star, it's very, very subtle. It just appears on the screen for a split second. It goes beep like that, like 5-star, pick, and it goes away in a split second. If you're not looking down the bottom of your screen, you'll miss it. When you do the way I mentioned, Shift Tab and then double click on the photo, when you hit P to mark it as a pick, a thing comes up on screen that says marked as a pick, and it sits there for a couple of seconds and it goes away. And then if you do 5-star, big 5-star shows up at the bottom, not as big as I'm showing you, but the 5 stars show up at a reasonable size. They stay there for a couple of seconds. So what I would say is, if you're really young, if you're 19, 20 years old, you have the vision of an eagle or a hawk, do full screen. But if you're over 30 and you need those things on screen a little larger, a little longer, Shift Tab, then double click, and then use the left and right arrow keys to move through your images. And the other tip I would give you is this. Do not sit there in front of your photo trying to figure out if it's a good photo or not. Don't have a photo come up on screen and go, now is this a good one or not? If it doesn't hit you immediately and you're trying to convince yourself it's a good photo, it's not a good photo.
Absolutely.
It should come like you put it like this. This is how quick I do it. Click, click. Ooh, that's good. Click, click. Ooh, that one's, I like that. Click, click. If you have to stop and go, just keep going. Those are my tips.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
you go.
Yeah. Well, I want to add one to that goes well with your tip. It's that when you're culling, don't do it inside the development model. Do it in the library model because it's a lot faster.
Yes,
So
that's a good tip.
Yeah, that's my tip for today.
That's a
and
good one.
we are absolutely way over our time. So, Scott, it's always good to be with you, even if we are not in Porto or Lisbon or someplace else in the world. Being
True.
with you on the podcast is also always fun. So next week we will have another great episode. And this one, as always, was brought to you by our epic sponsor, Platypod, the world's most compact tripod-based. And that's it for now. So we'll be back next week on Wednesday, as always. So until then, stay tuned, follow us on social media. And that's it for now. Bye, Scott. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Nando.
Bye.